In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold.
It is an error to believe that there are magical practices that one can learn. One cannot understand magic. One can only understand what accords with reason. Magic accords with reason, which one cannot understand. The world accords not only with reason, but also with unreason. But just as one employs reason to make sense of the world, in that what is reasonable about it approaches reason, a lack of understanding also accords with unreason. This meeting is magical and eludes comprehension. Magical understanding is what one calls non-comprehension. Everything that works magically is incomprehensible. And that the incomprehensible often works magically. One calls incomprehensible workings magical. The magical always surrounds me. It always involves me. It opens spaces that have no doors and leads out into the open where there is no exit. The magical is good and evil and neither good nor evil. Magic is dangerous since what accords with unreason confuses, allures, and provokes. And I am always its first victim.
The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Abracast. I'm John Towers. We're closing up here on our series that we've been doing on Carl Gustav Jung's book, the Liber Novus, or what's known as the Red Book. So we still have a lot to get through, so I don't want to fuck around too much here. So we're going to get back into it. We're working on talking some shit. So here we go. Where reason abides, no one... I'm sorry. It's been a long day. Where reason abides, one needs no magic. Hence, our time no longer needs magic. I'm not doing the old man voice, by the way. It was very difficult. Only those without reason needed it to replace their lack of reason. But it is thoroughly unreasonable to bring together what suits reason with magic, since they have nothing to do with one another. Both become spoiled through being brought together. Therefore, all those lacking reason, quite rightly, fall into the superfluity and disregard. A rational man of this time will therefore never use magic. But it is another thing for whoever has opened the chaos in himself. We need magic to be able to receive or invoke the messenger and the communication of the incomprehensible. We recognize that the world comprises of reason and unreason, and we also understood that our way needs not only reason, but also unreason. The distinction is arbitrary and depends upon this level of comprehension. but you can be certain that the greater part of the world eludes our understanding. We must value the incomprehensible and unreasonable equally. Though they are not necessarily equal in themselves. A part of the incomprehensible, however, is only presently incomprehensible and might already concur with reason tomorrow. But as long as one does not understand it, remains unreasonable insofar as the incomprehensible accords with reason. One may try to think it with success, but insofar as it is unreasonable, one needs magical practices to open it up. The practice of magic consists on what is making and what is not understood, understandable in an incomprehensible manner. The magical way is not arbitrary, since it would be understandable, but it arises from incomprehensible grounds. Besides, to speak of grounds is incorrect, since grounds concur with reason. Nor can one speak of the groundless, since hardly anything further can be said about this. The magical way arises by itself. If one opens up chaos, magic also rises. Sorry, gotta... One can teach the way that leads to chaos, but one cannot teach magic. One can only remain silent about this, which seems to be the greatest apprenticeship. This view is confusing, but this is what magic is like, wherein reason establishes order and clarity. Magic causes disarray and a lack of clarity. One indeed needs reason for the magical translation of the not understood into the understandable, since only by means of reason can the understandable be created. No one can say how to use reason, but it does arise if one tries to express only what an opening of chaos means. Magic is a way of living. If one has done one's best to steer the chariot, and one then notices that a greater other is actually steering it, then magical operation takes place. One cannot say what the effect of magic might be, since no one can know it in advance, because the magical is the lawless, which occurs without rules and by chance, so to speak. But the condition is that one totally accepts it and does not reject it in order to transfer everything to the growth of the tree. Stupidity, too, is part of this, which everyone has a great deal of, and is also tastelessness, which is possibly the greatest nuisance. Tastelessness is the greatest nuisance. That should be on a goddamn t-shirt. Thus, a certain solitude and isolation are inescapable conditions of life for the well-being of oneself and of the other. Otherwise, one cannot sufficiently be oneself. A certain slowness of life, which is like a standstill, will be unavoidable. The uncertainty of such life will most probably be its greatest burden. And still, I must unite the two conflicting powers in my soul to keep them together in a true marriage until the end of my life. Since the magician is called Philemon and his wife Abracast, I hold together what Christ has kept apart in himself and through his example in others, since the one half of my being strives towards the good, while the other half journeys to hell. When the month of the twins has ended. The men said to their shadows, you and I, since they have previously had their spirit around them, a second person, thus the two becomes one, and through this collision, the formidable broke out precisely that spring of consciousness that one calls culture, and which that spring of consciousness that one calls culture, and which lasted until the time of Jesus Christ. But the fish indicated the moment when what was united split, and according to the eternal law, the contrast into an underworld, an upper world, and if the power of growth begins to cease, then the unified falls into its opposites. Christ set what was beneath to hell, since it strives towards the good that had to be. But the separated cannot remain forever, and it will be united again, and the month of the fish will soon be over. He's talking about procession of ages. It's super interesting. We suspect that and understand the growth needs to be hence. We keep the good and the evil close together because we know that too far from the good means the same as too far from the evil. We keep them both together. But we thus lose direction, and things no longer flow from the mountain to the valley, but grow quietly from the valley to the mountain. That which we can see no longer prevent or hide as our fruit. The flowing stream becomes a lake and an ocean that has no outlet unless its water rises to the sky as steam and falls from the clouds as rain. While the sea is a death, it is also the place of rising, such as Philemon, who tends his garden. Our hands have been tied, and each must sit quietly in his place. He rises invisibly and falls as rain in the distant lands. The water on the ground is no cloud, which should rain. Only pregnant women can give birth, not those who have yet to conceive. But what mystery are you imitating to me with your name, O Philemon? Truly, you are the lover who once took in gods as they wandered the earth. When everyone else refused them lodging, you are the one who unexpectedly gave hospitality to the gods. They thanked you by transforming your house into a golden temple. While the flood swallowed everyone else, you remained alive when chaos erupted. You it was who served in the sanctuary when the peoples called out in vain to the gods. Truly it is the lover who survives, and why did we not see that? This is interesting. He's like a Noahic character in this part of the story. Surviving this flood. Instead of an ark, he gets this temple of gold he could survive the flood in. I know there's a Noahic character in Gilgamesh, and since Gilgamesh was already a character in this, I'm wondering if this Philemon is the character. So in the Epic of Gilgamesh was trying to reach this guy so he could figure out how to attain immortality. Because after he survives this Noahic character in the Epic of Gilgamesh, after he survives the flood, he gets rewarded with, everlasting life. Can I get an amen? And that's why Gilgamesh was seeking him out. He's trying to find this reward of life. So I wonder if So through the magic of podcasting technology, I just kind of did a little bit of research on Gilgamesh and Philemon, and I can't really find a straight up connection. The guy's name in the Sumerian flood myth that survives is Utapishtim. He built a ship for his family and all the living creatures, just like the Noah character. So I don't know. Maybe it's something that I should look into a little bit more, or maybe Jung will drop some more hints here. Run out of time already. Jesus Christ. But what mystery are you imitating to me with your name, O Philemon? Truly you are... Oh, I already did this. Where did I stop? I'll just jump in here. Why did we not see that? And just like when did the gods manifest? Precisely when Baasis wished to serve the esteemed guest, her only goose. The blessed stupidity. The animal fled to the gods, who then revealed themselves to their poor hosts who had given their last. Thus I saw the lover arrives, and that he is the one who unwittingly grants hospitality to these gods. Truly, O Philemon, I did not see that your hut is a temple, and that you, Philemon, and I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm taking a guess as why it's changing every time. Baasis serve in the sanctuary. This magical power allows itself to be neither taught nor learned. Neither one has it or does not have it now. I have your final mystery. You are a lover, which is another tarot card, by the way. You have succeeded in uniting what has been sundered, that is binding us together, the above and the below. Have we not known this for a long time? Yes, we knew it. No, we did not know it. It has always been this way, and yet it has never been thus. Why did I have to wander such long roads before I came to Philemon? If he was going to teach me what he has been in common for ages, I'm sorry. I can't. Why did I have to wander such long roads before I came to Philemon? If he was going to teach me what has been common knowledge for ages, alas, we have known everything since time immemorial, and yet we will never know it until it has been accomplished. Who exhausts the mystery of love? Under which mask, O Philemon, are you hiding? You did not strike me as a lover, but my eyes were open and I saw that you are a lover of your soul, who anxiously and jealously guards its treasure. There are those who love men, and those who love the souls of men, and those who love their own soul. Such a one is Philemon, the host of gods. So, way back in the beginning of the book, Jung is talking to this female, and he identifies her as his soul, and he points out that as a function, as a necessity, since the whole thing is about reuniting these opposites, right, that a man, his soul has to be female. And he starts talking and he starts accusing this magician of being a lover. And he's talking about the iconographic tarot card of the lovers. And what it is it's a reunification of opposites, because it's a man who loves his soul. You lie in the sun, O Philemon, like a serpent that coils around itself. Your wisdom is the wisdom of serpents, cold with a grain of poison, yet healing in small doses. Your magic paralyzes and therefore makes strong people who tear themselves away from themselves, but do not love you. They are thankful lover of your own soul, or do they curse you for your magical serpent poison? They keep the distance, shaking their heads and whispering together. Are you still a man, Philemon, or is one not a man until one is the lover of one's own soul? You are hospitable, Philemon. You took the dirty wanderers unsuspectingly into your hut. Your house then became a golden temple. And did I really leave your table unsatisfied? What did you give me? Did you invite me for a meal? You shimmered, multicolored, and inextricable. Nowhere did you give yourself to me as prey. You escaped my grasp, and I found you nowhere. Are you still a man? Your kind is far more serpent-like. I sought to grab hold of you and tear it out of you, since the Christians have learned to devour their God, and how long will it take for what happened to the gods also to happen to man? I look into the vast land and near and hear nothing but wailing, and I see nothing but men consuming each other. Oh, Philemon, you are no Christian. You do not let yourself be engorged. You do not engorge me. Because of this, you have neither lecture halls nor columned halls teeming with students who stand around and speak of the master and soak up his words like the elixir of life. You are no Christian and no pagan, but a hospitable, inhospitable one, a host of the gods, a survivor, an eternal one, the father of all eternal wisdom. But did I really leave you unsatisfied? No, I left you because I was really satisfied. Yet what did I eat? Your words gave me nothing. Your words left me to myself and my doubt. And so I ate myself, and because of this, oh, Philemon, you are no Christian, since you nourish yourself from yourself and force men to do the same. This displeases them most, since nothing disgusts the human animal more than itself. Because of this, they would rather eat all crawling, hopping, swimming, and flying creatures, yes, even their own species, before they nibble at themselves. But this nourishment is effective, and one is soon satiated from it. Because of this, O Philemon, we rise satiated from your table. Your way, O Philemon, is instructive. You leave me in a salutary darkness, where there is nothing for me to either see or to look for. You are no light that shines in the darkness, no savior who establishes an eternal truth and thus extinguishes the nocturnal light of human understanding. You leave room for the stupidity and the jokes of others. You do not want, O blessed one, anything from the other, but instead you tend the flowers in your own garden. He who needs you asked you, and oh, clever Philemon, I suppose that you also ask those from whom you need something, that you pay for what you receive. Christ has made some men desirous forever, since they expect gifts from their saviors without any service in return. Giving is as childish a power. He who gives presumes himself powerful. The virtue of giving is the sky blue mantle of the tyrant. You are wise, O Philemon. You do not give. You do not want your garden to bloom and for everything to grow from within itself. I praise, O Philemon, your lack of acting like a savior. You are no shepherd who runs after a stray sheep, since you believe in the dignity of man. You believe in the dignity of man, who is not necessarily a sheep, but if he happens to be a sheep, you would leave him the rights and the dignity of a sheep. Since why should sheep be made into men? There are still more than enough men. Oh, Philemon, the wisdom of things to come. Therefore you are old, oh, so very ancient. And just as you tower above me in years, so you tower above the present in futurity. And the length of your past is immeasurable. You are legendary and unreachable. You were and will be returning periodically Your wisdom is invisible. Your truth is unknowable, entirely untrue in any given age, and yet true in all eternity. But you pour out living water from which the flowers of your garden bloom, a starry water, the dew of night. What do you need, O Philemon? You need men for the sake of small things, since everything greater and the greatest thing is in you. Christ spoiled men, since he taught them that they can be saved only by one, namely him, the Son of God. And ever since men have been demanding the greater things from others, especially their salvation, and if a sheep gets lost somewhere, it accuses the shepherd, "Oh, Philemon, you are a man." You prove that men are not sheep, since you look after the greatest in yourself, and hence fructifying water flows into your garden from inexhaustible jugs. You are lonely, O Philemon. I see no entourage and no companions around you. Baasis is your other half. You live with flowers, trees, and birds, but not with men. Should you not live with men? Are you still a man? Do you want nothing from men? Do you not see how they stand together and concoct rumors and childish fairy tales about you? Do you not want to go to them and say that you are a man and mortal as they are, and that you want to love them? Oh, Philemon, you laugh. I understand you. Just now I ran into your garden, and I wanted to tear out of you what I had to understand from within myself. Oh, Philemon, I understand immediately. I made you into a savior who lets himself be consumed and bound with gifts. That what men are like, you think they are all still Christians, but they want more. They want you as you are. Otherwise, you would not be Philemon to them, and they would be inconsolable. You could find no bearer for their legends, hence they would also laugh. And if you approached them and said that you were as mortal as they and want to love them, but you did that, you would not be Philemon. They want you, Philemon, but not another mortal who suffers from the same ills as they do.
Learn more at Abracast.com. Get bonus content by signing up for the mailing list. Get all that, plus many exclusive episodes by supporting the show at Subscribestar.com.
Hey, just want to remind everyone to check out Abracast.com. There's a feature topic link, all kinds of good stuff there. Check out the Storefront t-shirts, graphic novels, and all of that. Also wanted to remind everybody that we are scheduling some time off, and that is in conjunction with our 5-year anniversary. So if you see some weird stuff happening on the feed, just buckle your seatbelt and enjoy it, everybody. Just enjoy it. So back to this thing. I understand you, O Philemon, that you are a true lover, since you love your soul for the sakes of men, because they need a king who lives from himself and owes no one gratitude for his life. They want to have you, thus you fulfill the wish of the people and you vanish. You are a vessel of fables. You would besmirch yourself if you went to men as a man, since they would laugh. They would all laugh. They would all laugh and call you a liar and a swindler, since Philemon is not a man. I saw, O Philemon, that crease in your face. You were young once and wanted to be a man among men, but the Christian animals did not love your pagan humanity, since they felt in you what they needed. They always thought the branded one, and when they caught him somewhere in freedom, they locked him in a gold cage and took from him the forces of his masculinity, so that he was paralyzed and sat in silence, and they praise him and devise fables around him. I know they call this veneration, and if they do not find the true one, then at least they have a pope whose occupation is to represent the divine comedy. But the true one always disowns himself, since he owes nothing higher than to be a man. Oh, you're laughing. Oh, Philemon, I understand you. It irked you to be a man like others, and because you truly loved being human, you voluntarily locked it away. You cannot be for men at least what they wanted to have from you. Therefore, I see you, oh, Philemon. Not with men, but wholly with flowers and trees and the fucking birds and all the waters flowing and still that do not besmirch your humanity. For you are not Philemon of the flowers, trees, and birds, but a man. Yet what solitude and what inhumanity. Why are you laughing, O Philemon? I cannot fathom you, but do I not see the blue air of your gardens? What happy shades surround you? Does the sun hatch blue midday specters around you? Are you laughing, O Philemon? Alas, I understand you. Humanity has completely faded for you. It is a shadow has arisen for you. How much greater and happier the shadow of humanity is than itself. The blue midday shadows of the dead, alas, is your humanity, Philemon. Your teacher and a friend of the dead. They stand, sighing in the shade of your house. They live under the branches of your trees. They drink the dew of your tears, and they warm themselves at the goodness of your heart. They hunger after the words of your wisdom, which sound full to them, full of the sounds of life. I saw you, O Philemon, at the noonday hour when the sun stood highest. You stood speaking with the blue shade. Blood stuck to its forehead, and a solemn torment darkened it. I can guess, O Philemon, who your midday guest was. How blind I was, a fool that I am. That is you, O Philemon. But who am I? I go my way, shaking my head, and people's looks follow me. I remain silent, oh, despair, silence. Oh, master of the garden, I see your darkest tree from afar in the shimmering sun, and my street leads to the valley where men live, and I'm a wandering beggar, and I remain silent. Killing off would-be prophets is a gain for the people. If they want murder, then they kill their false prophets. The mouth of the gods remains silent, then each can listen to his own speech. He who loves the people remains silent. If only false teachers teach, the people will kill the false teachers and will fall into the truth, even on the way of their sins. Only after the darkest night will it be day. So cover the lights and the remains silent, so that the night will become dark and noiseless. The sun rises without our help. Only he knows the darkest error, knows what light is. Oh, master of the garden, your magical grove shone to me from afar. I venerate your deceptive mantle, you father of all will-o'-the-wisps. I continue on my way, accompanied by a finely polished piece of steel, hardened in 10 fires, stowed safely in my robe. Secretly, I wear chainmail under my coat. Overnight, I become fond of serpents, and I solved their riddle. I sat down next to them on the hot stones lying by wayside. I know how to catch them cunningly and cruelly, those cold devils, the prick, the heel of the unsuspecting. I became their friends, and I played a softly toned flute. But I decorate my cave with their dazzling skins. As I walked on my way, I came to a red rock on which a great iridescent serpent lay, and since I had now learned magic from Philemon, I took my flute out again, and I played a sweet magical song to make her believe that she was my soul. And when she was sufficiently enchanted, I spoke to her. My sister, my soul, what do you say? But she spoke flattered, and therefore tolerantly. I let grass grow over everything that you do. Jung said, "That sounds comforting. That seems not to say much." And the serpent said, "Would you like me to say much? I can also be banal, as you know, and I let myself be satisfied that way." And Jung says, "That seems hard to me. I believe that you stand in a close connection with everything beyond, with what is greatest and most uncommon. Therefore, I thought that banality would be foreign to you." And the serpent says, "Banality is my element. It should be less astonishing if I said it about myself." And the serpent said, "The more uncommon you are, the more common I can be, a true respite for me. I think you can sense that I don't need to torment myself today. I can feel it. I'm worried that your tree will ultimately bear me no more fruit." The serpent says, "Worried already? Don't be stupid and let me rest." And Jung says, "I noticed that you like being banal, but I do not take you to heart, my dear friend, since I now know you much better than before." The serpent says, "You are getting to be familiar. I'm afraid that you are beginning to lose respect." And Jung says, "Are you upset? I believe that would be uncalled for. I am sufficiently well informed about the proximity of pathos and banality." And the serpent says, "So you have noticed that becoming of the soul follows a serpentine path? Have you seen how soon day becomes night and night day? How water and dry land change places, and that everything spasmodic is merely destructive?" And Jung says, "I believe I saw all of this. I want to lie in the sun on this warm stone for a while. Perhaps the sun will incubate me." But the serpent crept up to me quietly and wound herself smoothly around my feet. Evening fell and night came, and I spoke to the serpent, and I said, Hey, you, I don't know what to say. All pots are on the boil." And the serpent says, "A meal is being prepared. A last supper, I suppose," Jung says. "A union with all humanity," the serpent says. And I say, "The horrifying sweet thought to be both guest and dish at the same meal." And the serpent says, "This was also Christ's highest pleasure." Jung says, "How holy, how sinful, how everything hot and cold flows into one another. Madness and reason want to be married. The lamb and the wolf gaze peacefully side by side. It's all yes and no. The opposites embrace each other, see eye to eye, and intermingle and recognize their oneness and agonizing pleasure. My heart is filled with this wild battle. The waves of dark and bright rivers rush together, one crashing over the other. I have never experienced this before." And the serpent says, "That is new, my dear one, at least for you." And Carl Gustav Jung says, "I suppose you are mocking me, but tears and laughter are one. I no longer feel like either, and I'm rigid with tension. Love reaching up to heaven and reaches just as high. They are intertwined, and I will not let go of each other, since the excessive tension seems to indicate the ultimate and the highest of possible feelings. The serpent says, "You express yourself emotionally and philosophically. You know that one can say all this much more simply. For example, one can say that you have fallen in love all the way from the worm up to Tristan and Isolde. Yes, I know. But nonetheless, Carl Gustav Jung says, religion is still tormenting you, it seems. How many shields do you still need? Much better to say it straight out. You are not tripping me up. Well, what is it with morality? Has morality and immorality also become one today? You're mocking me, Carl says. Carl says, you're mocking me, my sister and chthonic devil. But I must say that those two that rose up, heaven intertwined, are also good and evil. And I'm not joking, but I groan because the joy and the pain sound shrill together. Where then is your understanding? You've gone utterly stupid after all. You could resolve everything by thinking. My understanding? My thinking? I no longer have any understanding. Carl says, it has grown impervious to me. And the serpent says, you deny everything that you believed. You've completely forgotten who you are. You even deny Faust, who walked calmly past all the specters. And Carl says, I'm no longer up to this, my spirit, too, is a specter. And the serpent says, I see you follow my teachings. And Carl says, unfortunately, that's the case. And it has benefited me with painful joy. And the serpent says, so turn your pain into pleasure. You are twisted, blinded, just suffer, you fool. And Carl says, this misfortune ought to make me happy. Well, the serpent now became angry and tried to bite my heart, but my secret armor broke her poisonous fangs. She drew back, astonished and hissing. You actually behave as if you were unfathomable. And Carl says, that's because I have studied the art of stepping from the left foot onto the right and vice versa, which others have done unthinkingly from time immemorial. And the serpent raised herself again, as if accidentally holding her tail in front of her mouth, so that it should not see the broken fang. Proudly and calmly, she said, so you have finally noticed this. But I spoke to her smilingly. The sinuous line of life could not escape me in the long run. Where is the truth and the faith? Where is warm trust? You find all this between men, but not between men and serpents. Even if they are serpent souls. But whatever there is love, the serpent-like abides also. Christ himself compared himself to a serpent, and his hellish brothers, the Antichrist, is the old dragon himself. What is beyond the human that appears in love and is as the nature of the serpent and the bird? And the serpent often enchants the bird, and more rarely the bird bears off the serpent. Man stands in between. What seems like a bird to you is a serpent to others. Wow. What seems like a serpent to you is a bird to others. Therefore, you will meet the others only in human form. If you want to become, then a battle between bird and serpent breaks out. If you only want to be, you will be man to yourself and to others. He who becomes belongs in the desert or in a prison, for he is beyond the human. If men want to become, they behave like animals. No one saves us from the evil we are becoming unless we choose to go through hell. Yeah, that's a good one too. So this whole thing about serpents and birds, I think it's also I mean, it's archetypical, of course, but it's also, I believe, a reference to Nietzsche, especially here where he's talking about men becoming beyond human, and he's talking about the bird and the serpent. Well, Zarathustra's best friends were a serpent and an eagle, but they were friends. The eagle like carried the serpent around and stuff. I want to do a cartoon. I want to do a Disney cartoon adaptation of the snake Zarathustra. Maybe they could do one to this too. Maybe they could do a comic book version. Why did I behave as if this serpent were my soul? Only it seemed because of my soul was a serpent. This knowledge gave my soul a new face, and I decided henceforth to enchant her myself, to subject her to my power. Serpents were wise, and I wanted my serpent soul to communicate her wisdom to me. Never before had life been so doubtful, a night of aimless tension being one and being directed against one another. Nothing moved, neither God nor the devil, so I approached the serpent that lay in the sun. As if she were unthinking, her eyes were not visible since they blinked in the simmering sunshine, and I spoke to her. How will it be now that God and the devil have become one? Are they in agreement to bring life to a standstill? Does the conflict of opposites belong to the inescapable conditions of life? And does he who recognized the lives, the unity of opposites still stand? He has completely taken the side of actual life, and he no longer acts as if he belonged to one party and had to battle against the other. But he is both and has brought their discord to an end. Though taking this burden from life, has he also taken the force from it?
Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.
If you're considering supporting the show on Subscribestar, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on over there. The degree of the Red Archive, which is the $1 a month, you get access to some bonus audio, but there's also 50 plus hours of archived episodes. These are older episodes. They're not on the stream anymore. It's the only place to find them is in the Red Archive. There's a $3 a month tier called